Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, everyone. Today we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 17. And text 28 is the first one. Is that correct? Yeah. So we're going to finish this chapter. We're going to read the verses to finish it. And then we will go to text 42 for our purport. Okay. Can you actually give everybody one of these? So we're just going to pass out a paper, and that's for a little later. I mean, you can take notes on it if you want, but just leave us some space for something that I'm going to ask you to write on there after. Okay, so text 28, and then I'll start, and then we can go around and we can read, okay? Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who was the cause of all irreligion.
When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and, under pressure of fear, completely surrendered to him, bowing his head.
Maharaj Parikshit was qualified to accept surrender and worthy compassionately, for he was kind to the poor.
The king thus said, "We have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion."
The friend of irreligion. It's a nice phrase, isn't it? It's unusual.
If the personality of Kali, irreligion, is allowed to act as a man-god or an executive head, certainly irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound.
Okay, just pause here for a moment. So the Sanskrit for man-god is Nara Deva. Nara Deva. So we can ask ourselves, have we been acting like men, man gods lately? Or woman gods, whatever. So in this purport, Prabhupada, he actually mentions, this is a really nice non-sectarian description here that he gives in this purport. So I just wanted to share this with you. He says, there's no need to turn from Hindu to Mohammedan to Christian or some other faith, and thus become a renegade and not follow the principles of religion. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. Such regulative principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. One has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. So that's text 32. So if you ever need a reference for someone's feeling, if someone's wanting a reference for how we say we're non-sectarian, you can quote from that purport. Okay, next, text 33.
Therefore, O friend of irreligion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
In all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes the demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is worshipped because he is both the super soul of everyone and exists both inside and outside like the air. Thus it is he only who awards all welfare to the worshiper.
The Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead. That's also unusual phrasing.
Sri Siddha Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows.
O your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look.
Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government.
Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in place where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed.
The personality of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity.
Thus, the personality of Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those 5 places.
Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the above-mentioned irreligious principles.
Thereafter, the king re-established the lost legs of the personality of religion, the bull, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth.
Okay, next.
The most fortunate emperor, Maharaj Parikshit, who was entrusted with the kingdom of Hastinapur by Maharaj Yudhishthira, when he desired to retire to the forest, is now ruling the world with great success due to his being glorified by the deeds of the kings of the Kuru dynasty.
Okay, last verse.
Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and
Patronage.
Thank you. It has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to say the prayer and then we'll go back to the purport, but I want to make a few comments. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's quite a scene we have here. There's Kali and he's shaking in fear. He's actually very intimidated by this powerful devotee of Krishna, right? And he's saying, well, I'm worried that everywhere I go, I'm just going to see, how did he say that? I shall just see you with a bow and arrow wherever I look, right? I won't have any freedom because everywhere I look, I'm going to be on guard. Like, is he watching me? And so I think we can all relate to that probably at some point in our lives, especially when we were teenagers. Like, we can't get free from the watchful eyes of our parents or something, right? So it's like, wherever I go, they're going to see me. And so that kind of need for material independence is exemplified in Kali here. I need to go somewhere where I can be free to just enjoy my senses and no one's going to see me. Like, let me go somewhere in Gainesville where no devotee is going to find me, you know? It's kind of hard around here. Here, it's like you meet devotees everywhere. But that's that's the attitude of Kali, right? He wants to be in his space where he's not going to be looked at by the devotees and chastised, right? So then Maharaj Parikshit, who you remember, do you remember how Maharaj Parikshit earlier on, he encountered Krishna? Do you remember the circumstances? Someone besides you, you know. Someone who is new, maybe this was their first time hearing the pastime of the last few chapters. He was in the womb. Do you remember? Yeah. So it's okay. So Nitai, I'll say.
Shvatama procured a weapon, a Brahmastra weapon, and was trying to kill the heir of the Pandavas. Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb of Uttara, who was the daughter-in-law of Arjuna. Yeah. So he was trying to kill them, and this heat was so strong of this weapon that Uttara, she just remembered Krishna to save me, oh Lord of the Lords, you're the only one who can save me, so please give me some deliverance, this is where I'm comfortable. And so Krishna, it's described that Krishna went into the womb of Uttara, and there he was guarding the baby of Parikshit. He was the size of a thumb, I think it was described. And that's where Parikshit saw this personality, dressed in yellow garments, and it's a good description given there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's such an incredible encounter that he had with Krishna in this difficult moment, this frightening moment where he was almost at the end of his life, but Krishna intervened and protected him. So now think about this great personality. He's so empowered because for several reasons. One is that he took birth in this incredible lineage of devotees, right? His parents and great-grandparents and so on are all devotees of Krishna. But he also was personally in contact with Krishna in the womb as an unborn child. So the soul, he met Krishna face to face. And so any little contact with Krishna, even if it was a few seconds, can completely empower a soul, a living entity, to the point where they can be so empowered that Kali can be shaking, in fear, right? This incredibly empowered devotee of Krishna. So yeah, it's nice to just remember the trajectory of his life. Once he saw Krishna, his whole life, imagine he surely never forgot that moment in the womb where he saw Krishna face to face. So he's now acting out of this great need to protect the masses of people and their journeys in spiritual life. He's acting as a really pious king. And so he's ordering Kali to just stay in certain places. So who remembers the 5 places? Just shout them out. Slaughterhouses. Mm-hmm. What was that? Brothels. Okay. Mm-hmm. Gambling. Mm-hmm. Where gold is being hoarded, and one more. That's with gambling. I mean, that's with the yeah, liquor. Yeah, bars, right downtown Gainesville. So I was thinking, if you want to have a meeting with Kali, you know exactly where to go, right? They've laid out the 5 places. So hopefully none of us want to meet with Kali, but it's yeah, that's where we know to avoid if we don't want to meet him, and that's where we know to go if we do want to meet him. So it's very very apparent, right? When we go even by these places, or when we're doing Harinam, moving through a bar or whatever, you can see that the modes are very prominent there, the mode of ignorance particularly. And so Kali's energy is present in that environment, in those places. And then there was, okay, so now I'm going to read the verse 42. Okay, so Rishasya nashtam strinpadan tapa shocham dayamiti pratisandadha ashvasya mahim cha samavardhayat. Let's do the word for, let's sing it all together, this verse. Rishasya nashtam strinpadan tapashocham dayamiti pratisandadha ashvasya mahim cha samavardhayat. And let's do the word for word together. Rishasya, of the bull, the personality of religion. Nashtan, lost. Trin, 3. Padan, legs. Tapa, austerity. Shocham, cleanliness. Dayam, mercy. Iti, thus. Pratisandade, re-established. Ashvasya, by encouraging activities. Mahim, the earth. Cha, and. Samavardhayat, perfectly improved. Dayam, mercy. Right? So thereafter, the king reestablished the lost legs of the personality of religion, the bull, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth. Purport. By designating particular places for the personality of Kali, Maharaj Parikshit practically cheated Kali. In the presence of Kali, Dharma in the shape of a bull and the earth in the shape of a cow, he could actually estimate the general condition of his kingdom, and therefore he at once took proper steps to reestablish the legs of the bull, namely austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. And his nature was one of these qualities, right? He's very merciful also by nature, which is why he's doing all this. And for the general benefit of the people of the world, he saw that the gold stock might be employed for stabilization. Gold is certainly a generator of falsity, intoxication, prostitution, enmity, and violence. But under the guidance of a proper king or public leader, or a brahmana or sannyasi, the same gold can be properly utilized to reestablish the lost legs of the bull, the personality of religion. Maharaj Parikshit, therefore, like his grandfather Arjuna, collected all illicit gold kept for the propensities of Kali and employed it in the Sankirtan Yajna, as per instruction of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we have suggested before, one's accumulated wealth may be divided into 3 parts for distribution, namely 50% for the service of the Lord, 25% for family members, and 25% for personal necessities. Shocker. Spending 50% for the service of the Lord or for propagation of spiritual knowledge in society by way of the Sankirtan Yajna is the maximum display of human mercy. People of the world are generally in darkness regarding spiritual knowledge, especially in regard to the devotional service of the Lord. And therefore, to propagate the systematic transcendental knowledge of devotional service is the greatest mercy that one can show in this world. When everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% of his accumulated gold for the Lord's service, certainly austerity, cleanliness, and mercy automatically ensue, and thus the lost 3 legs of the personality of religion are automatically established. When there is sufficient austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, naturally Mother Earth is completely satisfied, and there is very little chance for Kali to infiltrate the structure of human society. So so many nuggets of wisdom in this purport. So today I want to talk about the topic actually that I was given for this class is how to keep Kali at bay, / they're like in the second part, proper use of wealth, right? And those are both the same thing. So how to keep Kali at bay and proper use of wealth. So they tie well together because we know Kali, the influence or the nature of Kali is present there, potentially present there in gold or money or any kind of assets, right? That there's a potential for us to become, do you remember some of the qualities that Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that can happen when it's misused? Dishonesty happens. Envy. What do you say? Vanity, yeah, pride, lust, more, yeah, greed. Enmity. So, yeah, all kinds of things like rifts between friends, even families can break up over money, right? We know so many times this happens, especially at the end of someone's life. Let's say there's a really, grandmother that everybody loves and the whole family gets together for reunions with her, but then she passes away and left a little bit more to one child and the other, and it just can create so much pain and heartache and anger and resentment and jealousy. All this potential is there, depending how we utilize it and depending with what consciousness we approach it. So if Prabhupada gives a really hope-giving sentence here, so under the guidance of a proper king or public leader or a brahmana or sannyasi, the same gold can be properly utilized to reestablish the lost legs of the bull, which was austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So that very same item or material item, right? Gold is it's not animate, it's just a product of this world. That very same product can be either used to tear everyone apart and completely spiral us downward into material consciousness, or uplift and completely transform this world, depending how it's used. So incredible, right? The transformative power of applying things in connection to Krishna, like what it can do for society. So I want to ask you, I'm going to share a few benefits of connecting wealth to Krishna, and I want you to think also if other things come to mind. So one of the benefits of connecting our wealth, and particularly I'm talking about money in this instance, is that the more that is offered to Krishna or used in service, the less there is an opportunity for Kali to infiltrate, right? Because we heard that it's hard for Kali to enter where those four qualities are present, right? So if gold is used in Krishna service, if money or assets, things like that are used in service, then Kali is no longer able to grab onto it. That mood, that mentality is no longer there. And we know that expression, I believe it's a biblical, the origin is biblical, the idle hands make a devil's workshop, right? Yeah, some people just, yeah, some yeah, then that's where we can start thinking, ooh, what could I do with this, right? And then the I try to enjoy this for me, and that's where everything kind of ends up backfiring, and we end up usually not having a good experience at the end of the day, right? When we just do something for our own enjoyment. So one other thing that I was thinking is that the more, so when we're doing something for Krishna, like when we're sharing either directly or indirectly using our assets for Krishna, then it naturally increases our love and affection for him, because anytime, this is a psychological phenomenon of this world, anytime we do something for someone out of service, we start to feel some affection for that person, usually, not in all cases. But when we're doing it with Krishna, that's a natural response. So when we're doing something, even if it's kind of automatic or mechanical, we start to feel oh, I'm investing in this. So naturally, our love and affection for that thing grows automatically. So as we serve Krishna with our assets, then our affection for Krishna grows. So what other thoughts do you have about why is it beneficial to connect the resources we have to Krishna? Yeah.
This isn't necessarily answering the question, but in psychology, it's called the Ben Franklin effect, because he would do small favors. Well, he would ask diplomats to do small favors for him so that they would like him better.
Yeah, it's an actual thing, right? It's a researched thing that when we do something for someone else, even if it's an enemy, it kind of makes us a little bit softer towards that person. Yeah. Did you have something?
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he'll preserve what you have and carry what you lack. So if you get all this wealth, all this money, and you decide, hey, Krishna, this is not even actually mine, this is what you've given me, let me engage it in your service, then he's probably more likely to reciprocate and keep on giving you more and more because he knows you'll be responsible with it.
Yes, that's actually a really important point. When we start to see that it's not ours, right? We shift the ownership of it to Krishna. Then Krishna goes, oh, this is a recipient for this wealth that can use it in my service properly without all that other yucky stuff that can get in the way, mine and jealousy and envy and all those other things, pride. So when Krishna sees that a devotee is a good medium for that, here, these resources, because you're going to use it for spiritual causes, then Krishna will keep giving. Krishna can provide, he can take. It's not always like that. In some cases he takes, but we see in the story of Sudama Brahmana, that's what happened, that Krishna saw a qualified recipient for wealth because he knew Sudama's pure-hearted, and so he gave him a lot of wealth to use in service. Yeah.
Krishna, thank you. I was thinking kind of on the other end of that spectrum, if we are always using our wealth in service to Krishna, naturally we're probably using everything else in service to Krishna too. So whether or not we have that wealth, we still have our service, which is our true wealth, so we're not really affected by if we have a lot of money or not. Krishna can, if he decides to take it away for whatever reason, then we're not really too worried about it. We can still do our service.
Yeah, I like that. It's a more expansive definition of wealth, right? It's looking at all the other ways we're engaged in service. That's actually our real wealth. So yeah, thank you for adding that. Yes.
I was thinking that I like when people refer to the Hare Krishna movement as a peace movement. And I just think, practically, since I've started practicing, I've gained more peace and peace of mind, which is invaluable. And so if I were to, or if Max were to, make $14 million, and instead of buying himself, a $14 million estate, he just bought me some nice land and, and then what'd you say, five-story Krishna house? That's 5-story. When he purchases the 5-story Krishna house, just practically how much more peace will be able to spread by being able to facilitate more Krishna consciousness. So
Yeah, thank you. Kamishi, and then back. Kamishi.
I was thinking about Srila Prabhupada. He when he came to America, he came with anything, and then when people asked, when he started getting many wealth, like many like fancy cars, many properties, and then people, he always was emphasized about like, because we try to share this, is like I'm not attached to this thing. It's just like a tools to like share with others, and then others get the benefit. So when we utilize properly our wealth,
Yeah.
they bring that mood in us to like, oh, it's not us, it's just for sharing with everybody. So I was thinking about that example.
Yeah, Prabhupada's example. We had hands in the back. Christina?
Yeah, so I would say that like, so having a lot of money, there's a saying by some famous rapper, right? More money, more problems. That like money kind of makes things really complicated in ways that you might not expect when you're kind of like, you don't have a lot of money. You're like, oh man, if I just had $10 million, then my life would be great. That's actually not true. Like, if I mean, your life would be better in some ways, but you know, things get complicated, like you said, you know, with inheritance and everything, right? People get attracted, people, you know, with bad intentions, and then they're squabbling and stuff like that. And not only that, but if you have if you kind of have less money, and you do that purposefully by, you know, offering money in service to Lord Krishna, then you're kind of like, you're forced a little bit to be a little bit more creative with life, and kind of value things in a different way and look at things in a different way, right? So there's this very famous video game called Oregon Trail. And you can start, at the start of the game, you can choose kind of a different difficulty level depending on how how hard of an experience you want to have, or how fun, depending on how you look at it. And so the easiest level is when you play as the banker, you have the most money. And then there are two other levels where you play as like different, another kind of role where you have less money, and that's harder, and that makes it more fun once you get used to the game, because you're more creative. You get to like explore the strategy space a little bit more.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, great point. Yep. And then Nishta, and then we'll go on.
I was just thinking about this idea that Jonathan brought up about peace, and how people usually want a lot of money because they think they can improve the quality of their life and maybe even extend it. And so that naturally is based upon a sense of trusting in wealth for one's everything. Whereas when we spend money for Krishna's sake, I like how Srila Prabhupada said, let's make $1 million a day for Krishna and spend $1 million a day for Krishna. Then there is no issue with having a lack of peace, because one's trust is in Krishna completely. He's the wealthiest. No one is more wealthy than Krishna. And anyway, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
I like that point about trust. Nishta?
Yeah, it probably was already said in different ways, but like, when you use like wealth and money for Krishna, it's like gives it purpose, because like some people just have like a ton of wealth. They're like, and they just don't know what to do with it. They just like spend it. They go to the mall and like waste a ton of money on like things that they just throw away next year. It's like it gives it purpose and like meaningful like sense of purpose.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, we'll do one more.
It reminded me of an analogy I heard one time, like just in relation to like not just wealth, but whenever we're trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, it's kind of like a hen trying to eat an apple by itself, and it's frustrating because the hen can't eat. But then naturally, when the hen offers the apple to the mouth, the whole body is nourished. So like what was said, like Lakshmi is Krishna's wife. He controls her. She belongs to him. So when we engage Lakshmi properly, then everyone's satisfied. Even materialists like millionaires, no, ironically, the more they amass, the more empty they feel oftentimes, and then they'll turn to like philanthropy or something, and it gives it some more substance than just when they're accumulating for themselves. So
yeah, that purpose, that meaning. So thank you. These are all wonderful responses. So so how do we practically do this now? So the next thing is, well, we've talked about the reason why we want to connect money and wealth to Krishna, right? So in our, like here we are, all of us, we have, some of us have more, some have less, right? And so how do we do that on a practical level? So there's this ideal standard that Prabhupada's talking about here in the purport. 50% of our income and our wealth should be used for the service of the Lord, 25% for family members, and 25% for personal necessities. So that's the ideal standard that Rupa Goswami set, and very high standard, right? But if we're not able to reach that level, that's okay. We don't have to feel discouraged. It's not all or nothing. It's not like, oh, this standard and, oh, well, I can't reach that. I'm just gonna, not worry about anything and just kind of live. So there's always, in every aspect of Krishna consciousness, there's a scale, like, right? We're trying to reach these ideal levels, but in the process we can see, okay, where am I today and how can I get closer to that? So we can start by thinking, well, I don't have much money and it's going to be hard for me to divide that in half and use that for Krishna, right? That's a very huge amount. But this is something that this phrase that my father coined, never zero, right? Never going to bed with zero activities for Krishna, never zero, right? Always at least one thing, right? So same with our sharing of our wealth for Krishna, or using our money, connecting that. So at least nothing, at least not nothing, at least 1 penny, right? And then we keep increasing. So the mind of a devotee is, at least let me do something. 1% or 0.5% of my income is better than none. And then the next step is, let me see how I can increase that, maybe every year. So one of the important things, especially once a lot of you are living in ashram now and you might not have a steady source of income, but one day when you do, then it's really important to connect that income to Krishna, and having a regular amount that we contribute to a cause, to devotional cause, is what grounds us in spiritual connection. So it's like sadhana, steady, right? Steady and regular. So same with the money, like we take, let's say, oh, I'm going to do 1% of my income for Krishna, and we do that regularly and steadily. And then from there, let me see if I can increase it. So Krishna, he doesn't need money, right? He doesn't need our money, he doesn't need our wealth. What does Krishna need? What does he need from us? Our love, right? So there is, actually, Christians are very good at this topic. They talk a lot about tithing as a group. It's very wonderful aspect of Christianity, where they really emphasize this idea that everyone should contribute something to the church or to the spiritual project or something, right? So to connect our income to Krishna, to God. So we don't want to do it in kind of a mechanical way of, we would try not to. We can start like that, right? Okay, let me just cut off 1% off the top and then give that, and it can start off that way mechanically. But Krishna doesn't need money, so he wants our love. So we can, for example, if we do tithe, like one day if you're making some income and you want to tithe to the Krishna house, for example, which is a nice thing to do actually for those of us who've been through the Krishna house experience. It's nice to stay connected in that way and give back, right, once we have some income. So we can do automatic. Nowadays, everything's mechanical, right? Automatic transfers from your bank, right? So you get like a note in your email. Oh, I've given so-and-so this much this month. You get like a notice. If you do these automatic PayPal deposits, right, to Krishna House or so another project. So instead of just like deleting that email, you can take a moment to see that and go, oh, and now let me add my intention and my prayer to that act, right? Let me make it an intentional and meaningful thing, not just an empty mechanical process. And this applies to everything in spiritual life. Let me not make this an empty name. Let me make this a meaningful name of when I chant. Let me chant with meaning and purpose and connection. So the same with our money. Whatever we do, if we give $1 a month or $1 a day or 10% of our income, like a lot of Christians do, or more, or 50% like Rupa Goswami did, the important thing is the mood and the connection. That how we're feeling that devotion, right? It's all about bhakti. That's our process, the mood. I recently got a card in the mail. Nowadays, it's so rare to get cards in the mail, right? So I was kind of excited, like, oh, a card in the mail, right? So I opened it up, and it's like a beautiful card. Inside is like this pre-written, printed note, and it was from insurance company. And it was like, Merry Christmas. I think it was already a Christmas card or Thanksgiving, I forget. But it was just like, pre-written. And it was nice, but it's kind of like empty because they just publicly, mass produce these cards and ship them out. So I felt a little like, oh, okay, that's nice, but it's not like a homemade card that someone wrote me that was actually thinking about me. So that's the difference between mechanical acts for Krishna and devotional acts for Krishna. He appreciates like, oh, okay, we're doing something robotically. He appreciates we're showing up for him, and he appreciates that we're here trying our best. As soon as we add the devotion, the love, that's when it really touches Krishna's heart. Just like it really touches our heart when we open our mailbox and there's a card or a letter from a loved one that's handwritten and maybe hand-drawn, and it has so much more meaning. And then we stick it into our memory box and it becomes part of our something we can look at later, right? So similarly, Krishna, he remembers all the moments that we've given him something with love and that we've connected to him in that way, even if it's once a year, right? Minimum or something, or once. It doesn't matter the time. Krishna's not hung up on the detail of like, oh, how often or how much. He's interested in our interest in him, in our loyam, in our enthusiasm to show up for Krishna. So I gave you these little papers, and I want to mention one thing, and then I'm going to ask you to write something on this. So we're talking about money and wealth, but there's another kind of wealth that some of us might not have any money, right? And it's not very unusual for devotees to not have much money. So if we don't have actual money to share in service to Krishna, we have other things. We have other resources, right? We have other either physical resources, like I have a car I can lend someone, or I can drive someone, or I have personality resources. Krishna has invested each one of us with resources of our talents and our abilities and our personality and our nature. So what is it about our nature or personality that we can offer? And we can think in this way, like, am I connecting this to Krishna, this ability that he's given me, or this talent that I have? It's a resource, like how can I connect it? So some examples could be, maybe I'm intellectual or creative, I have an artistic sense, or I like to help people with their interpersonal problems, or I'm good at being a listener, or I have, a car that I can use for Krishna, or I have a place that I have a home, whatever resource it is, whether it's material, whether it's tangible, like physical, or if it's more of an emotional, mental resource. So think about that for a moment, and think about in your life, what resource do you have that you would like to find a way to connect to Krishna more? No. Oh yeah, we have more here. So just write it down. You don't need to write a whole sentence or anything. Just write down the name of that thing. Yeah, so what we're doing is you're thinking about something that Krishna has given you, a talent or a resource that you have. It can be money as well. That's also part of it, right? Anything that you feel like you have that you want to brainstorm how to connect to Krishna more of. Maybe it's not something you're actively connecting to Krishna, but you know its potential and you want to, right? And we can all write many, of course, but just choose one for now. Okay, and raise your hand if you have something on your paper. Okay, almost, probably. So almost. Or that you could use more, that, doesn't mean not at all, but that maybe you want to explore how you can connect it further to Krishna, right? Okay, so if you'd like to if anybody would like to, let's just do a quick round, right? You read the word that's on, if you'd like. If not, you can say pass. If you don't want to read it, if it's too personal, you can just say pass. But let's just read the word that you have or the thing that you're thinking. Future vision. Future vision. Okay, go Bob. Drum set. Yay. Okay. Radhika. Listener. Can we pass the microphone so the people online can hear too?
I wrote the ability to face my darkness and shine light on it, and the ability to help others do that within themselves.
Nice.
One just came to mind, but it's not like a word. It's just giving love to others, the love that I've received. So yeah.
I kind of have a list, but one of them would be guiding other people.
Non-judgment or accepting. Wonderful.
Created.
Ambition.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, even ambition. It can be used in Krishna service. Really nice one.
Cleaning.
Knowledge of astrology.
Okay.
Communication skills, like writing and speaking.
Pass that one up to Nitai, and can you pass that one up?
I guess creating a safe space.
Okay, nice.
I wrote perspective.
Perspective, nice. That's your turn, yeah.
I wrote determination.
Wow.
Knowledge of natural sciences.
Wow, did you notice there wasn't a repetitive one? I think they were all different. Is that true? I think that every single was a really good one. Yeah, so you can see how we all have something unique to contribute. That's why every single soul is so important on this journey, right? We all have some unique way that we can offer what Krishna has given us back to him. So what I would like to invite you to do is just have this paper with you today and to reflect on this, especially the top one that you wrote, and to think, how can I connect this to Krishna? So, and you can jot down ideas during your day, like, okay, how can I, what can I do? Can I connect this to devotees, or how can I improve this skill, and so on. And so it becomes like a meditation. And it's just a tangible way to do bhakti yoga, right? Because we want to link everything with Krishna. But here's sometimes I like something physical, like an actual card, and you're brainstorming something, and you create some goals for Krishna. So Advaita, did you want to share yours? Did you write your word or your? Okay, what did you draw? Okay. Oh, but I think the exercise, yeah, I see. I don't know if you were here for this. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, drawing. So we all wrote Damodar. So yeah, we all wrote on our paper, what do we want to, what trait that Krishna's given us that we want to use more in his service? And I think this is the answer here. So that's one of his talents. So thank you all so much for just doing this little activity. And for me, it would be gratitude. Yeah, to increase gratitude. So yeah, I think it's really nice to hear from all the devotees and see that every person has something they can work on, and they can add as a resource for our Sankirtan movement. So if you're feeling discouraged by things like, 50%, if it feels overwhelming, then look at the one that you've written on your card and think, how can I do at least 50% of this for Krishna, right? This particular resource that Krishna's given me. And then one last thing, I know we're a little over time, but one last thing is we can also become appreciators of others, what they're offering. And that's another way to tie in with this. If we notice that someone's giving something to Krishna, even if it's an incense stick, or someone offered a ride to a devotee, or someone made a phone call to someone who is sick, right? We can become appreciators and notice they're offering their resources to Krishna, and to point that out to Krishna, point it out to the devotee, thank you, and appreciate them with words and with actions. And also to show it to Krishna. Hey, look, Krishna, this soul has offered this stick of incense, and now I'm going to offer it to you. Or the student came by and dropped off a tissue box, and I'm going to offer it to you. And we connect others' offerings to Krishna, and then it actually links all of us. And Krishna likes to hear about the offerings of the souls that are around, and he goes, "Oh, that was okay. I'll take that tissue box, and then we're helping other souls on their journey, right? By noticing and by appreciating their offerings to Krishna." So, is that a quick comment? Yeah. Okay.
Where when you offer food to say Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, whatnot, they'll take that prep that you offered, add more preps that they offer, and then offer it to their guru, and so you're getting a bigger feast as you go up the totem pole.
Yeah, up the disciplic succession, the feast by the top. That's really nicely put. Kunti? And then we'll end after this.
It's a question. I was wondering, like, how do we approach savings, for example? Because personally, I have a habit of saving, and then I get confused as to how is that okay or not okay, like for future plans and stuff. Or I don't know if it's okay or not.
Yeah, just in brief, it's okay to save, because we also need to care for our body and our life and our family and so on in this world. It's part of our duty. And so to have some savings is actually helpful, because in the long run, we won't be needing to depend on others then, right? We can be of more service if we have some savings. So we can use that for Krishna by saying, okay, this is my little savings for emergencies and for things, so I can not be a burden to others. That's one way to think about it too. Yeah. I think Shruti's probably like looking at this video and saying, why is the class still going? But a quick comment. Okay. Oh yeah, $1 a day to Krishna House, everyone. Yes.
Well,
I did mention tithing to Krishna House, but yes, $1 a day, yes.
Something that recently I talked about recently with somebody was that doing service at Krishna House means we're giving our wealth. Like if we were having a job outside, then we'd be making money and giving that.
Yeah.
But we have a job inside, so we're making money for Krishna House, and we're just not touching it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing though. We are giving every single day to Krishna House.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I wanted to do this exercise on other resources. So it's not about, like right now in the ashram, it's about how can I use my body and mind in service, right? And the resources. Thank you.
But then I was also wondering about like pilgrimage, like especially as a brahmacharini when I'm not giving anything, but I am saving up to go to the Dham. Does that count as like an offering to Krishna because it's nourishing me spiritually? Or
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime we use our money to help our own spiritual journey, it's also a service because we want to come closer to Krishna. So yeah. I think we'll end here. And if you have any other comments, you can share with me. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you all so much. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai.